The Texans' offensive line seems to be everyone's biggest concern going into the season, and rightfully so. The Texans' offensive line last year was arguably the worst offensive line in the league. I think the only one you could make an argument for is the Giants' offensive line, but the Texans' offensive line was easily bottom two in the league. Now, did the Texans do enough in the offseason to fix its offensive line? No. Did they try? Yeah, they tried. I mean, they missed out on Nate Soldier. Thank God, because 15 mil for an average left tackle, yeah, that's not good. Anyways, they tried to address or fix the offensive line, but they couldn't. But at least they still addressed it. Interior offensive line, I think, is going to be good next season. Tackles are still worrisome, but regardless, the offensive line wasn't going to be fixed in one off season. It was always going to be a 2-year project. At least the interior offensive line should be really good next season. Now let's start off with who I think is going to start. At left tackle, we got Julian Davenport. Now, Julian Davenport had a small sample size in 2017. He did a really good job of shutting down TJ Watt for the Steelers in Week 16. And he did a good job against Jabal Sheard Week 17 versus the Colts. So, I still don't think that's enough of a sample size from Davenport to know whether he'd be good or not. But at this point, I just kind of hope Davenport performs well. I mean, from what I saw, especially that Steelers game, he looks promising. Maybe he can hopefully put it all together and turn into a solid starting tackle for us to protect Deshaun Watson's blind side. But even if he doesn't improve a whole lot, I think he can at least be as good as Chris Clark. And Chris Clark was, I'd say, mediocre at best at left tackle. So, I mean, at least it won't get worse, maybe, hopefully. Now, at left guard. At left guard, if the Texans are smart, they'll start Jeff Allen at left guard. So, at left guard, I'm putting Jeff Allen. Jeff Allen just belongs on the left side. I know most people just want Jeff Allen out of Houston, but I disagree with that because at right guard, I agree. Jeff Allen is garbage. Straight up trash. But why is it that the second we moved him to left tackle, Jeff Allen looked way better than he ever did at right guard? And then you add in the fact that he was a pretty damn good guard in Kansas City while he was playing left guard. Jeff Allen belongs in the left side. So I think if the Texans put Jeff Allen at left guard, Jeff Allen's going to do really, really good. And hopefully they realize this. Now, I do know that Jeff Allen is indeed on the physical unable to perform list. So I don't know when he'll be back, but I'm pretty sure he'll be back by the start of the season. I don't think he'll miss any time. At center, Nick Martin. Nick Martin is easily, or was easily, our best offensive lineman last year. I think he's a really good center. I think he's overlooked because he was in between Xavier Su'a-Filo and Jeff Allen, so a lot of the times their fuck-ups would look like his fuck-up. So, Nick Martin, he's a solid pass blocker, good run blocker. He's just a good center. And I think we're good at the center position with Nick Martin there. Right guard, I'm putting Zach Fulton. Zach Fulton last year, he was, I want to say, top 4 in terms of pass protection. So, again, you got to protect Deshaun Watson, and bringing in Zach Fulton really does that. And he's also a pretty good run blocker. So, the interior of the offensive line next season is going to be good. I'm not saying it's going to be straight up dominant and just we're just going to run all over everyone in our way, right down the middle, A-gap runs every single time. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that we're not going to have Geno Atkins destroying Xavier Su'a-Filo and just straight up destroying Deshaun Watson in the backfield because of it. We're not going to have that anymore. We're not going to see that. We're not going to see Aaron Donald dominating the interior offensive line every single play. We're not going to see that anymore. Our interior offensive line should be good to go. Right tackle. Easily the worst position on the team. I do think Martinez Rankin is better than Shawn Henderson, but I do think Shawn Henderson is going to start. Why? Well, Bill Bryant doesn't usually start rookies unless they're first round picks, and like later on he puts in the second round picks or the third round picks, you know. But usually like from day one he doesn't start later round picks. Now Shawn Henderson, he hasn't really played since 2014. In 2014, yeah, he was, I'd say, maybe average, but that's 4 years ago. Like, he hasn't played in a really long time. I mean, he did play a few snaps last year, but I mean, that's not enough. I mean, hopefully he's not as bad as Breno Giacomini. I mean, it's kind of hard to be worse than Breno Giacomini if we're being honest. So maybe it's an upgrade, maybe it's not. But that's what I see being the starting offensive line. Interior, again, is going to be good. Tackles are still questionable, especially the right tackle spot. Right tackle spot is terrible. Now, for the backup offensive lineman, Senio Kelemeti is easily that sixth offensive lineman, the guy you could bring in when you go on a big formation, or when someone needs a breather, you throw him in there. When someone gets hurt, you throw him in there. This guy can play left guard, center, right guard, and right tackle. So we could literally play him anywhere. And if the Texans do part ways with Jeff Allen, they can easily throw in Senio Kelemeti to start, because Senio Kelemeti, I mean, he's not a good offensive lineman, but he's average. He does everything decent enough. I mean, he's not going to get destroyed like Xavier Su'a-Filo like almost every play. You know, every now and then he'll make a good block, but in between those good blocks, he'll probably miss a block. You know, that's the type of guy Senio Kelemeti is, but he is a good pickup, a good value pickup. And then we have Greg Manx. Greg Manx, again, he can play center, he can play both guard spots, but he should just be a center. I think that's his best spot easily. And I think he easily makes a team. So far, these 7 offensive linemen are the guys I think are guaranteed to make a team. As well as the next guy, Martinez Rankin. Martinez Rankin, he's a better interior offensive lineman than an offensive tackle. I wouldn't put Martinez Rankin at left tackle. I'd probably put him at right tackle if we were to start him off starting. I think he'd do better there. But I think the plan should be is maybe start him at right tackle right now, and then when Jeff Allen leaves in a couple years, you move him inside, and then of course you got to draft an offensive tackle in the first round next year to truly fix your offensive line, and then you throw in Martinez Rankin inside where he'd probably be better, or will be better. So you lose Jeff Allen, or you could cut Jeff Allen, save $7 million next season. You move Martinez Rankin inside, draft an offensive tackle in the first round. You know, you could just do this type of stuff with Martinez Rankin. I really like to pick up. I know a lot of people criticized it, but I think in the long run, it's really going to benefit us when we pick an offensive tackle in the first round. Hopefully we pick an offensive tackle in the first round. And I know there's going to be some other people that you guys are going to ask about, like David Quesenberry. I think Quesenberry is kind of like on the outside looking in, as well as Kyle Fuller, last year's, what was he, 6th round pick. I think both of them are on the outside looking in. They did perform good last season, but it's kind of hard for me to see us carrying 9 offensive linemen. I kind of see us carrying 8, especially considering how versatile Senio Calameti is. Now, if we do carry 9, I do see David Quesenberry beating out Kyle Fuller. So, to summarize it, interior-wise, I think we're good. I mean, we got Nick Martin, Jeff Allen, Zach Fulton. If they're all placed correctly, we'll have a good interior offensive line. We have Greg Manx that can be a good backup. We have Samuel Calameti that's a really good backup. So, interior offensive line, it's good. The tackles are worrisome. Now, I know there's a good amount of people kind of terrified of the offensive line and having Deshaun Watson out there with that offensive line. Would I be terrified? Not really. Why? Well, in my opinion, I think it's easier for Deshaun Watson to avoid pressure coming from the offensive tackles on the outside rather than to avoid someone coming right down the middle, kind of like when Geno Atkins destroyed Deshaun Watson in his first ever start. So I think Deshaun Watson's good enough, smart enough, instinctive enough to avoid the pressure from the tackles. As long as that interior line holds up, which it will, I think we'll be fine for now. Our quarterbacks definitely won't take as many hits as they did last year. Last year they took like 250 something, which was like easily by far the top number in the league. I think this year that number will dip significantly, especially if Julian Davenport ends up turning out to be a good offensive tackle. So on the tackles, it's just kind of pray and hope. On the interior line, we're good. Again, fixing the offensive line was always going to be a 2-year project. So hopefully next year we draft an offensive tackle in the first round and we'll be good to go. So offensive line, I'm feeling better about it than when we went into the offseason. I'll say that. Anyways, that's all I have for you guys today. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.